Oh, good morning, everyone. Hello there. I did see you there. Yes. Happy holidays, by the way. Merry Christmas if I missed you before. And, yes, let's get on with a review. Mr. Englishman, I'm pretty sure you forgot something.
Haven't forgotten anything.
You did forget about that thing we agreed for you to...
No, seriously, I'm not wearing that.
Why not?
But because it's borderline dangerous, that's why.
Well, look, you're behind schedule, man. Your subscribers are too low.
I don't care about that. Those people are already enough for me.
Nothing is enough for you, and what do you mean by that? They're gonna be offended.
I don't make it... I don't want to make it sound as if, I'm annoyed by them or anything.
Yes, you sure do. It sounds like...
Anyways, you can forget about that. I will never do something like... The first one who laughs down there in the comments will make the new year being all about me nagging about him every freaking video. The year 2024 will be very aptly named because it will have me 24/7 nagging about you. So, let's get on with my review. I had also forgotten my glasses, by the way. I kind of feel better because I can practically see. But, yeah. Well, today's review is about me taking you back and taking me back, basically. Back to my childhood. And, my childhood was all about playing soccer in my favorite AEK Athens jersey, going fishing, even poetry. I used to write poems as a kid. And, watching my favorite cartoons, and some of them were basically anime that were dubbed and brought to us through the media of VHS back in the day. And everything that was about giant robots, I was absolutely... I loved them. I was in love with these things. I used to watch these things and rent these from the video store so much that I would learn the dialogue inside out. And at one point, my grandma was so fed up that I would rent the same things over and over that she went there in the video store, grabbed the owner by the neck, and practically threatened him to copy these things for me. Yeah, shag piracy, by the way, so that I would never nag her about these specific VHS tapes. These would include stuff like Voltron, Volta the Invincible. Yeah, that was definitely a bootleg. And Get a Robo, which was my absolute favorite, but there was another one. Another one named Grendizer, or as we knew it, Duke Fleet. These two cartoons had two totally different effects on me. Every time I would watch Get a Robo, I would feel joy and full of energy after the VHS tape, has reached its ending. But, with Grendizer, it was something different. I was practically borderline depressed, you might say. You see, on one hand, with Get a Robo, you had three very colorful characters trying to use teamwork to cover each other's weaknesses, and using that to lead themselves to victory. It was very, very nice, a very nice message, and that's what got me full of energy. On the other hand, you had Grendizer, and its pilot was a guy that was ravaged by war, has lost his home to war because of war, and he was a pacifist, hated violence, and he was forced to go to war again just to save his new home and the new people that he actually fell in love with. It was depressing. Very nice messages again, but quite a lot darker, I may add. So me being me, imagine how I shit my pants. I mean, not literally. What were you thinking? But imagine my surprise when they announced that this would become a video game. Look at this. I seriously had no second thoughts before I bought this. And I played it, I beat it, I haven't gone full platinum just yet on it, and I'll tell you what I think about it. I have plenty of footage for this game, but I'll probably mute it because if I don't, they will, YouTube. Because it has plenty of Shunsuke Kikuchi awesomeness in there. If you don't know who Shunsuke Kikuchi is, he he passed away unfortunately a couple of years ago. A genius composer, and he practically had his name almost everywhere in the 70s. Like 90% of Dragon Ball has his soundtracks on there. Like, so everything that was epicness, pure epicness, it was most probably Shunsuke Kikuchi. He was that good. And if you didn't know about him, you better go ahead and listen to some of his work. It's everywhere in YouTube. The people who designed this game definitely had us in mind, those old people that used to watch this back in the 80s, and it shows. They might even have been the same people that practically watched it themselves back in the day. So this looks and feels and sounds and plays pretty much like an episode. Like all the levels feel like an episode straight from the show, from the anime. The graphics definitely managed to capture the essence of the show without being overly, impressive or anything, but they do work, in the sense that they feel and look like a comic book. Our giant robot looks amazing, and they even added some ball joints to it just to make it look a little bit more realistic, adding a little bit of realism to those joints that didn't look quite nice in the 70s, and they did that without changing its overall image and appearance design at all. The game comprises of 3D brawler stages, like they feel a little bit like beat 'em up, and then you have the shooting stages in which you can drive the spacer itself or the TFO as Koji Kabuto. You don't know who this guy is? Haven't you watched Transfer Z? You have mid-sections in between levels where you run around as Daisuke and you talk with various characters from the show. And even though those don't really play out like a cutscene, they mostly still images with bubbles, I really appreciate the comic book feel of those too. The battle system in the brawler stages is simple but effective. You get to fight a bunch of different enemies, some of them straight from the show, and you have every weapon that Grendizer has in the show, which is pretty amazing. And lots of crazy weapons like the double Hulkin, the Screw Crusher Punch, which is basically its fist like going off and creating some kind of drill up the front. I used to watch very weird things. You get a counter move in the form of the hand beam, and of course you have its ultimate move, the Space Thunder. Yes, awesome. I also like what the game does with these weapons, because there are more than many points in the game where you have to use these weapons in certain succession in order to beat your enemies. You get to upgrade the weaponry of Grendizer, and there's a little bit of exploring in the brawling levels where you have to find stuff that are mostly used for completion of the game, and yes, as resources, as I mentioned, for upgrading. And then you get the flying stages, the shmup stages, and those are really good without being overly difficult or stressful, and it just made me feel like going back and watch the show again. It was that good, at least for me. and let me tell you what, the boss fights are the highlight of this game. They're straight from the anime, like pretty much everything else in this game, and it feels amazing. There's certain patterns that you need to use to avoid their attacks, and then find the right moment to strike using the various weapons that Grendizer has at its disposal. It's freaking amazing! Like, Dum Dum and Goru Goru, Game Game, Giru Giru, which is the very first episode. Like, they're all of them are there. And now that I think about it, that repeating stuff like Domu Domu, Goru Goru, is that supposed to be an homage to the Kareta Kareta Turtles? Very interesting. Having said all that, though, it might sound as if the game is perfect. Well, it's perfect under very specific circumstances. And the first one is you have to be a fan, because there are certainly some weaknesses in the game that we should address. Well, first of all, the game is not overly long. It doesn't have any network features. There's nothing really that you can do with it with somebody else in the web, which I don't really care because I'm too old for these kind of things. But the game, like I said, it's not overly too long. For the price of 40 quid that you're basically paying for this, it's pretty good, I must be honest, because I've seen full price games, like double this price, that they're absolutely disgusting and feel like totally unfinished. So the guys at Microids did a great job, you know, especially if you're trying to compare their game with the likes of Redfall. And then you get to a point where there are some technical difficulties in the game, some things that could be ironed out a little bit. And the most glaring one is that when there is too much shite in the screen, the game kind of stutters, which can be pretty annoying, especially in that one flying stage where you play as Koji Kabuto in the TFO. Yes, that one was quite glaring. So what do I think about this game overall? Well, I'm gonna just shut you and go ahead and replay this again because I'm that old and I like these kind of things. So, as you might guess, I would probably suggest this a million times over any other game for a guy who likes mecha, anime, and stuff like that. So if you're like me, if you're a nerd like me and you like these kind of things, you would definitely fall in love with this. This thing was made with love and utmost care from people that definitely know the source material, and that says a lot. That speaks volumes. But yes, so if you're not a big fan of those, you might find it just above average, you know. So yes, there's that.
You didn't talk about the frustrating aspect we're talking.
Not again. What do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean. I even agreed with.
It's not bothering me that much.
It is bothering you. I know you. If you don't get it out of your system, it's gonna bug you for the entirety of your life.
It's not a big deal.
It is a big deal. I even agreed with you.
Fine! The English dub sucks! Okay? It's ridiculous. How can you make a game that's, you know, about an anime and have an English dub on it, a British one at that? Our language is far too polite and refined for these kind of things. You need a warrior to scream these things. Like, you expect me to like a guy, like enjoy the whole idea of someone screaming like, Space Thunder? This sounds freaking ridiculous. Have you watched Naruto in English? It's disgusting. You don't say Shadow Clone, do you? You need a guy like screaming Kamiya saying these things so that you can get the back of your head like the hairs would stand up. The last time I remember a British dub being actually good was in Yurusei Yatsura, and that was like in the early 80s. And that was comedy. It seemed fit. It doesn't fit. That thing that, how can you make a game and not add the Japanese voice acting as the default setting? I don't get that. I hate the fact that the Italian dub is actually a lot, it's leaps and bounds better. How did the Mediterranean people do this better than us?
See? You got it out of your system.
Well, yeah, shut you. And you, what you looking at, pervert? This shoe, go away. I'm borderline electrocuting myself for you. Bye bye.